Hello, everyone. It's Dominic here from Esports News UK. We're back with our fourth live Twitch interview powered by MSI. Really looking forward to this one. We're focusing on CSGO, of course, and we've got two well-known UK CSGO personalities. We've got host James Banks, and he's going to be interviewing King Mezii from Fnatic, one of three UK CSGO players for Fnatic. And chatting all about his journey. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll turn it into an article afterwards. So enjoy it. If you have any questions for James to ask Mezii, please just ask them in the chat and he'll do his best to ask them. So thanks for watching and I'll pass it over to James.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Dom. Yes, this is one I'm excited for. Now, when I normally get to do interviews, I have to be like a little bit shorter, for broadcast and stuff, cut it down. This is where we get to have the enjoyment. This is where we get to have fun. We do have Mr. King Mezii with us, and it is a pleasure. But I'm going to start by just asking how you're doing, mate. How you feeling? You ready for this one?
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good.
Good, good.
When I knew I was going to get you, I was like, thank God, it's not Smooya. We see enough of him. Let's look at the real prospect, the one I'm the most excited about. And I guess the starting point for you when I look down like your career and stuff, it's like you had such a crazy rise because obviously a lot of people know you when it comes to tier one, looking at the Cloud9 side of things. But when we just go through your history, you didn't really go through like too much of the, I guess I would call it horrible, tough UK side of
Yeah.
things. Yeah, would you agree with that? Like you didn't have to kind of grind through absolute horrible like teams the whole way through. You had quite a gigantic rise.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I think compared to a lot of UK players that have been there for a long time and sometimes they don't get the shot or they're in and out of teams. And as everyone knows, like UK teams switching players all the time and can't get anything going.
Yeah.
But like for me, I've found like a pretty good group of like friends, like pretty quick in my career, like in the UK. So it was good for me that even when that ended, it was kind of time for me to be able to like start looking options like European wise and what was out there. So it was quite good for me that I could like not stay in the UK too long or have to
Yeah.
be in and out of teams, and maybe sometimes you're scared for your spot or like they're recycling the same players and so on. But for me, it was pretty good that I could get a good group of friends together, play to the point where like I could make some like good friends within the EU scene as well and go from there as well.
And I'm going to touch on this because this comes back all the way to like my days of playing. And there's you're 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an 8 year gap between us, right? There's an 8 9 year gap between us, basically. And I look at it, the UK has not sadly changed. Like I'm not going to use this to just like make the UK look bad in a sense, but we have struggled when it's come to Counter Strike, even from the early days of Counter Strike when it was back in 1.6. Source, we had a bit of success, things started to fall off. Even the early days ago, you could say there was chances for some success with it. But how was your general experience in the UK, and how did you get into Counter Strike?
Well, firstly, like I got into CS initially playing a bit of Source because my dad used to play and like
Hey.
so yeah, so it was through him that I started playing, and he had his own like kind of community or team that he used to play with, and I used to just have like fun in Source, like because I was only young, like 9 or 10 or something, just playing like
Mm.
surf servers and stuff like that. But then and then after that, it was just kind of getting into CS:GO. Like I came in, I think early at the very start of 2014, started playing CS:GO, and when I had that big break, I was thinking, nah, I still want to play Source, and everyone was like, it's definitely not a thing. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And one of my friends was like, just try out CS:GO. I tried it out, and then straight from there, it was like kind of getting into more making more friends like in terms of like community play and getting
Mhm.
into matchmaking because it was quite big at that time at the start of CS:GO.
Yeah.
Everyone still wanted to play matchmaking, and then from there it's like I had a pretty good experience in the UK scene. Like in terms of CS, it was like I said, being able to make quite a lot of friends, and I mean, guess lucky for me, it's like I'm not a typical what people think a UK CS player is, like a big ego and everything. So like I said, being able to, it was a good experience for me just being able to like find friends that I could kind of stick with for quite a while and like grind through that way instead of like being like a guy, the typical UK guy in and out of teams and okay, we've got this team. It's lasted one LAN because that was the usual thing with UK guys. Like they play
Yeah.
one LAN, they do bad, and it's like it's all over for us. We've got to change. But um, for us, it was just kind of like I said, making good relationships within the scene and going from there and trying to stick it out as far as it could until obviously now it's like kind of dead. Other than like even Endpoint now, who when I was there, like obviously the UK team and so on, and now it's kind of like there's no like a pool of players that you can choose from in the
Yeah.
UK at the moment. So
Yeah, do you know what's funny, right? Is when you look at Endpoint as an example, right? They are doing their best for what they can roll through on UK CS, but it's happened in 1.6, it's happened in Source, it's happened again in Go, where they have to look outside of the UK, to field a roster that can actually compete with it. I do love the fact that you mentioned, right? Obviously, your dad got you into it. You started so young because we're just seeing this more and more now. I think as gaming and esports becomes more acceptable, these guys like you are starting off so young, then you're real talented when you come up. Like I've got my son's 5, right, and he plays Counter Strike, so it's like
yeah,
they are getting so young now when they start that by the time they're like what Mezii is a perfect example of that. 16 years old, on a tier 1 team already looking really good. Started when he was like 5 or 6 years old. But like, did you always know that you were like wanted to go pro in it, or did it take some time to understand like that was the direction you were going to go?
I think it definitely took some time. Just because like you said, didn't I think in the UK more than a lot of other countries as well. It's like esports isn't huge, and it's not like not something that you would like obviously say you're proud about, but like when you're at school and stuff, it's like all about football. It's all about like
Yeah,
sports and stuff, and none of your friends are exactly like playing games. And I think, say if you're from like Denmark or Sweden, or something, I think there's a lot of players and kids playing CS:GO now. It's like you said, it's helped a lot that parents are obviously used to play, or the kids are more accessible to it, so they've been able to play like CS or other esports titles. And it's like you said, by the time they get to 15, 16, they've been playing it for a good few years, and it's just like Monacy and players like that that have been grinding up pugs like every single day. It's like it takes your mechanical skill to like a whole new level. And obviously, when you get to tier 1 CS, it's not all about the mechanical skill, and you've got to learn a lot of other things and team play and so on. But I think the mechanical skill takes you really far, and you can always pick up things like the team play and the communication, and those things you learn with experience and stuff. So I
definitely.
think, like you said, it gives them a huge step up being able to start super early. And I think you see it with a lot of players that have been able to start, whether it's Source or 1.6 early when they were younger, that they've been able to play a lot better and make a like a living, or get far into CS:GO.
Yeah, it's definitely the way of the future. But looking at your career in general, right? What team would you consider to be the one where it was like your breakout team where you not had to sign as a pro, but like were taking it super serious, like where it was, okay, look, this could be something I want to do for the future.
I think I would say when I first signed with Game Legion was like
See, by the way,
just
that's what I was
because
gonna say. I didn't want to say if it was gonna be Game Legion or not. I was thinking maybe it was Vexed or maybe it was Game Legion. So yeah, okay, that's good.
I think like Vexed obviously helped a lot, and it was great because we were still a UK team, and we were like kind of pushing towards like a higher league in the East, like one of the top leagues just before Pro League, and it helps obviously a lot. But at that point, I was still at university, and in my final year there. And I think once I'd finished university, it was kind of like, okay, now I've got my degree. It's just about maybe I'll take a year out and just see where it takes me. It was like kind of
Mm,
just seeing where it goes. And then when I signed with Game Legion, it was like a big step up because I was playing in like the one league below Pro League and ECA, and then going from there, and it was like playing with European talent. It was like, okay, maybe this could go somewhere, because it was like my first time being like proper full time into CS and being able to like full focus on that instead of like education, and maybe
yeah.
I'll have to do this and have exams and so on. It was just like everything was just about CS then, and going from there. I think that was like the first time I thought, obviously it could be a thing for me, and just see where it goes, because anything could have happened in that year. And obviously it was only a short time of Game Legion that I had, but it was just like see where it could go from once I'd finished university.
And in terms of that, right, did you actually go to finish university in the end? Did you kind of keep a balance going, or did you just end up on the full esports bandwagon?
Somehow I finished, and it kept
Well
a pretty
done.
a pretty good balance. I'm not sure how. Like I didn't kind of have like a set schedule and so on. Like I tried to obviously make sure that when I had assignments or exams, like making sure I did those like pretty early and kept on
Yeah.
top of it. And then instead of like a lot of my teammates before, when I was playing UK scene, they went to university as well. It's kind of hard to, because you always want to play CS right when you're at home. It's like your computer's there in front of you, like, do I do work? Do I play CS? And it's like the easy options, just play some CS and stuff. So
Yeah.
like for me, it was just kind of like get these assignments done, and as soon as those done, like I can full focus CS. And it was like somehow I kept a pretty good balance and able to finish like my degree. So it helped quite a lot.
Damn. So, do you know, because what's impressive is discipline's needed anyway, right, in life, but especially
Yeah.
when it comes to gaming and Counter Strike. And the fact you managed to do that, finish uni, get your degree, so you've got something to fall back on, and you've made it this far as well. Like, that's huge. Not many people can pull that off. But was there some times where it was, I guess, a lot harder, where you had to kind of make a choice between, or do I do what I need to do for uni, or do I have to play for the team? Did you have some of them awkward situations?
Like I said, lucky for me, it was we were still playing in like also in like a UK team, and it wasn't full time at that point. So we were still playing like a lot of evenings. Whereas obviously now when you're playing full time, you're playing from
Oh yeah.
like a normal job, like you're playing from the morning to the evening. Whereas before it was like pretty flexible, and a couple of the others had like jobs, so it was kind of easy around that sense. To kind of stick to a schedule and be disciplined. Like whereas now it would have been a lot harder. But I think especially towards like my final year, it was kind of like because I already made the decision like after this it's going to be like a year out at least to try
Yeah.
and see where CS goes. It was like maybe like taking the foot off the pedal a little bit with university because I kind of knew that after this it's like trying to go with CS. It was like maybe putting a bit more time to CS and not so much university, but it's
Mm.
still like trying to like know that I was near the finish line with university and just get that done. As soon as that's done, it's like full focus onto CS and see where that goes.
Obviously, you said about your dad showing you Counter Strike, but what did your parents think of this when you made the decision to say, "I am going to take a year out and I'm going to go pursue Counter Strike full time"?
Uh It was a pretty good response, especially with my dad, because obviously
Hey,
I think with him, like he'd played before, not obviously not nowhere near professional, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he kind of watched CS. He knows what it's about and like what like the players are doing well for themselves after getting professional and so on. So I think it was a really good response to know like that I had their support, and it was like yeah, if you've I've done like kind of the hard work of getting my degree, and it's like if CS doesn't work out, then I've got that to fall back on, and kind of if I have to go get a job out like in with relation to my degree, then it's fine. But I might as well try and take this year out because a lot of people take that year out to do placement years or do work experience anyway. So it's like kind of using that year the same way they would. Is just playing CS, and if that works out, then it works out. It's a different way of going about things, and
Yeah.
but it's like it works out. So it was great to have like their support and what to go towards like my kind of dream and like to play CS:GO professionally.
And before we get on to Fnatic, right, I got to touch on the sad and I guess short-lived moments of Cloud9, the team that
Yeah.
had potential, but we didn't get to realize it. At that point, did you still have the motivation? You know, like this team comes together, you've got some great players around you. You've got Henry, who's a legend of Counter Strike, you know, fully believing in you guys. But obviously, things didn't work out. It wasn't ideal. But I think that was the first time where, like, you know, the whole international scene was like, okay, Mezi's the real deal because you probably saw it yourself. And I'm not going to just try to be nice to you. There was obviously people going, oh, he's just a UK player, you know, like he's not going to
Yeah.
achieve anything, right? It's that typical kind of bad side we have put around our nationality, but you kind of stepped up and delivered in a big way, even in the high pressure moments.
Yeah, I think as well, like in terms of like my motivation was kind of even after that ended, it was kind of like the highest it would ever been because I think obviously, like you said, my expectations to other people going into the C9 project was pretty low. Like they didn't expect anything from me. They didn't expect like me to drop 30 every game or full carry a team. So it was like even though it was like a lot of pressure for us as a team because of the way the announcement was, and it's obviously C9's a huge organization. It's just
Yep.
for me, it was just like the expectations aren't super high. It's just try my best, and even then, I think I knew I could do a lot better than the way that project went, and especially individually. So it was like that added extra motivation to just like keep pushing, and like it helped me a lot as well. The players I played with and learning that side of things and the experience gained from tier one CS because yeah, they didn't go super well with C9, but it's like valuable experience that a lot of players don't obviously get when they get that chance. It was obviously not great losing a lot of games, but you also learn a lot from losing, and especially for me going
Definitely.
from like you said as well, like jumping quite a few levels from I didn't play a lot at the lower levels of CS. It was a few months, and then going straight up, it helps you a lot to become like a better player after that experience.
And I got to know, right? Because like Henry has always been amazing in supporting the UK scene, right? And always trying to give back, even when he had his own team, right? The Easy Skins
Yeah.
lineup, for example. But Who was the one that kind of like scouted you and said they wanted you? Was it Henry? Was it Alex? Was it Cassard? How did it work out?
I think it was definitely more Henry,
Good
and I think
man.
obviously my agency helped with that as well because
Yeah.
it's hard. There's so many players out there that even Henry or Cassard or Alex, like no one can keep on top of like all the players that are out there. It's kind of hard to see that, and I didn't have like the most experience or the most games on HLTV, for example. So
Yeah.
for me, it was just like I think Henry kind of. Had a few people say to him, or my agent say to him, and he kind of looked out and was definitely like on board with getting me into the team. And I think that was like the first time I kind of spoke to Alex as well. And even though he's like a UK player, he's obviously never played in the UK scene
Yeah.
properly.
He
So
avoided it massively.
yeah, I mean, good job for him. He
Yeah.
did pretty well there. So um, but yeah, that was when it kind of opened up quite a lot of new friendships and knowing more people higher up in the scene, and it was great to like have that confidence from Henry as well because, like you said, is a legend within Counter Strike
Big
and
time.
everything he's done. So it was great to have like the backing of him and the confidence from him that he's going to put me on this team and go from there.
And do you know what I loved about the Cloud9 project and why I was sad to see it go is not just because obviously you had a couple of Brits on there with you and Alex, but the fact that we had such an interesting mix, Estertag, like Danish player, gone with Astralis, different style of play completely to the Americans where you've got Floppy, Zeppa, who have their own unique style with it. And then you bring in Alex, who is, okay, he's British, but he's like literally played on Vitality, played with like Zyru leading the best player in the world at the time.
Yeah.
And then we bring you in, who's like the unknown quantity as well. How did that all feel for you? Was that just like extra information overload? Like you're just trying to soak everything in? Because I bet there was a lot of different like ideas on how people wanted to play the game.
Yeah, I think there definitely was. But it's also like, especially for me, it was just I didn't have the most experience, so it was kind of like whatever system they wanted or whatever they were kind of like all the information they were all the information they were feeding me. It was just kind of like take that all in and however they kind of see me playing within this team or how they what role they see me playing. It's kind of just going with that, and
Yeah.
I think that's obviously it can seem like a bad thing with international teams because you have so many different ideas and different styles of play, but I think it's also used as an advantage because like everyone knows like how certain regions like to play or their kind of style. And when it comes to international teams, you have so many different players and different styles. It's like you can catch teams off guard, and also like you're a bit more like an unknown, I guess, to other teams because yes, you have like the IGL style, and that's usually what the main thing is. But you also have players that like to do different plays and different things within the team, and I think that is a big thing with international teams because it's never like just one way like looking straight down the tunnel. It's like it's loads of different options that you can have within the team, and it's
Mm.
always like plan B, plan C, not just like the plan A. I think with a lot of just the same region of players.
Now I'm gonna come on to the bits where we move over to talking about Fnatic, but my last thing on the Cloud9 situation is just how sad were you when that ended? And was there any part of you that thought, oh god, this might be the end of me like being able to compete at this level?
I definitely thought it would be a lot harder for me individually just because like it wasn't like I completely blew up that like absolutely smashed the team and
Mm.
like did really well individually. It wasn't like I popped off all the games. So obviously you have that thought like, okay, you don't get many chances as a player to get into these top teams, and especially when you're from the UK, it's like
Yeah.
you're not from like a Denmark or the CIS region where they've got loads of players that you could get picked up. It's like not many. There's not a UK team that you're going to look up to get to. So you need that international team. So
Mm.
obviously I thought it was going to be hard, and but I just thought like it's just gotta I've got to continue hard, like working hard. And in terms of the project, it was like um obviously really sad to like for it to break up because it felt like even though it didn't seem like it on the outside, I think we were making quite a lot of progress and taking teams like a lot of top teams, especially now in the pro league that we played the season we played with like taking good teams like Navi and Gambit into close games. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of those, I think everyone knew there was a lot of games where we lost 2-1 that could have easily been like a 2-0 on our side or a 2-1. And so it's like on the outside it didn't look great, but I think it was kind of sad just because I think inside the team it felt like we were making some sort of progress, but just obviously not enough, which is fair as well.
I'm glad you said that, right? Because this is the thing that I like. I'm not going to pretend I'm the best analyst or best expert, but I understand the game enough when I see things and you go, okay, this has potential or this isn't working, you know? And that was the sad point for me is that I remember being sat there when we were watching Blast and it was like me, Maniac, and Pimp, and we are saying, actually, this is legit. Like people were memeing and joking about the team, but this is something they could have worked with. And then obviously when the fallout happened, that was just a sad way to
Yeah.
go. But we'll get on to the next steps. What I'm going to do now is that we're going to go through kind of like some quick fire questions, more game focused questions in a little segment powered by MSI, which is why we get to do this fantastic interview with you, mate. So I'm going to go down through some of your favorites, you know, some of your preferred settings and stuff. To start with, favorite map.
Favorite map? Oh, um, I would have to say on a team level, I would say Nuke, just because
Oh, good man.
I just think there's so much you can do on that map.
Yep.
And like so many different ways to play it, and it's just a fun map, like in most positions. And like I said, there's so many different things to do. So I'd say Nuke definitely.
I like you even more, Mezii. You know, my favorite map was Train, then they removed it, so Nuke is my next best thing. That's what I'm going for. Preferred screen resolution. So, like, do you play 4x3, 16x9? You know, what kind of settings you rocking with on that?
Definitely 4-3. Like I've
Good
tried other,
man.
definitely,
Stretched?
yeah, stretched.
Yes.
I've tried other ones. It's just
I
it
can't
lasts
play
for
16
about
by
a day.
9. It doesn't look like. I think is I think you can tamper with a lot of settings, right? But mouse, you really just don't tamper with that.
No,
And the 4x3 or 16 by 9, because I know like you played Source, right? So that's probably also why you did it. But a lot of these people that start 16 by 9, they're used to it. When I look at it, I'm thinking, this just doesn't look like Counter-Strike. It
no.
looks so odd.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Like what happens a lot. Like I play 4-3 all the time, and then say if I'm getting kind of like my eyes are too used to it, and I feel like I need a refresh, I'll go in 69 for like a 10-minute deathmatch session or something, and then like okay, that's enough. Go back to 4-3 and just like go that way. But yeah, 16:9 and all the other resolutions, yeah, it doesn't feel right when playing.
There we go. What you do is you hurt yourself with your eyes and you go, yes, go back to my
Yeah,
normal
yeah.
my normal res. This is what makes most sense. Next one is mouse DPI settings. Now I'll be honest, when it comes to me and this kind of stuff, I'm so terrible. Like someone literally asked me the other day, like, "Oh, what's your CPI and then DPI to something else?" And I'm like, I just play with this sensitivity, and I think this is the DPI.
Yeah, like I mean, I've always been on 400 DPI, and then not long ago I went to 800 DPI. Just it doesn't really matter
Ooh,
to me,
okay,
just because like it depends. I mean, I just change my sensitivity in game to match with what my DPI is anyway. So whether
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
400 or 800, it's gonna like go to the same sense anyway, just because I'll change it in response to that. So it just kind of depends how it could literally be 400 or 800, but usually 800 DPI.
Okay, nice, nice. All right, now this one's going to be fun. Chat, you've got to be involved in this as well. We're going to first ask you, Mezii, to rate yourself on some of these, and then we're going to ask Chat to rate you on it as well. So to start with, you can rate yourself out of 100. How do you feel your mechanics are?
Mechanics. Ooh.
This is tough. You know, I would not want to be able to rate my own. This would not be
Uh,
fun.
I'm not a fan of rating my own skill level, but I would go kind of in the middle out of 100. I'd say
Alex said
around
12. He just bullied you in chat.
12. Yeah,
That's
his
more
would
like
be around
mine,
10.
Alex.
So
Oh,
I would go for a modest number of 79
that's
out of
very
100.
modest. That's very modest. You know what? So what we'll do is we'll do 79, then we'll add Alex's 12, and then I think we got the real number. I think we'll round it
Okay,
up as that.
yeah, I'm happy
Alex
with
is
that
now
one
giving
then.
you 5 as well. Someone else giving you 24 in there. You got some great support going on here, Mezii. Next one is reflexes. Now, when we're thinking about reflexes, I'm looking at what we saw. Did you see the clip from Manesi the other day?
Yeah,
Boy,
like, and
I
I'm
tried to
nowhere
watch that
near
on
that
slow
quick.
mo. But tell me, right, as you know, as a pro player, having your normal sensitivity hitting that kind of move is hard anyway. I feel like he must have a button where the sensitivity just changes or something. Like I don't understand how you go from normal to then that wide speed of it. It was wild.
Yeah, it's insane. Like especially on obviously with high sense, it I would say like sometimes it can make shots look faster than they are, but that
Yeah.
was just insanely fast as well. It's like especially with high sense, it's like it's so easy to over flick things, and how like you can have the control like that short of distance. Like when you're that close to someone, it's like pretty insane. But like my reflexes are not the best. So I'd have to go even lower than my
Oh
mechanics, I'd
no.
say. Like um, maybe a 70 on my reflexes. It's something I
All right.
definitely need to work on. Don't know how it's gonna improve, but
I'll tell you as an older person that like I look at Forest and I say you like look at Passion, some other people, you know, they still play, still streaming, you know, Forest still competing on Dignitas. And I think, okay, like they still got it and they're like a bit older than me. And then I look at mine, I think mine's just deteriorating so fast. Obviously, I don't have to play at top level, it's brilliant, but I mean, I don't know how you start to improve on that stuff. I think some people just got it or they don't.
oh yeah, definitely.
Now, next one, I think this should be pretty damn high for you in how I watch you play. So this is positioning. I think you have
Yeah.
good, smart positioning.
Yeah, I would say that one's one
There we
of the
go.
better ones. So where do we go with this? I'd say mm, I still want to be modest. I don't want to put it too high, you know. Like,
If you're gonna be so
um,
modest, I'm just gonna keep upping your numbers, so it's fine. You know, you
I
do
would
what you do, and I'll
say,
make you look better.
uh, 86.
No, I'd give you about 91, 92 on that, so that's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
we can
okay.
come to agreement with that. Aggression. Ooh. The thing is, so aggression's hard to quantify, right? Because it depends on the situation. Sometimes you
Yeah,
just might not be in a role where you need to be aggressive all the time. So
yeah, definitely. I'm definitely more of a passive player though. Like, I think like if you have like a high amount of aggression, I would say around 77 or something. It's a
yeah.
random number, but I'd say 77. I'm not the most aggressive player, so it's like if it comes to it when I have to be, then it's just, gotta do what you gotta do. But
Yeah.
usually, like my preferred thing is like I'm definitely more of a passive player, and maybe bait a few kills here and there.
And this is Alex typing, doesn't know where the W key is. You know,
Yeah,
we can't
there
always
we
have the
yeah.
art of W, you know, art's special style of playing. He'd be just off the charts when you put him with like a 100 or something like that. Now, this one I'm very sure is going to be high because the next one's communication. And you're British, you're even doing this interview really well. So I think communication should be pretty up there. That's got to be another 90-ish one. I know you
Yeah,
haven't given yourself that yet, but I am.
maybe that's what I need. And I would say my communication is pretty good. Like,
I'm
I would
waiting for
say,
Alex's comment, by the way. He
yeah,
has to
he's
comment on
gonna
this.
say
He's the
something
IGL, so.
stupidly low. Yeah, I'm gonna get a number in there before he says anything. I'll say 88 communication.
Okay, 88 communication. Oh, Alex gave you 97. All
Uh,
right.
that
There,
surprised
there.
me.
Now this is a problem because he's bigged you up so much on the communication. That means, do we trust the rest of his ones that he was saying? You know, like, is he giving you some actual fair and reasonable answers on it? So yeah, communication, you're solid at that. That's good. All right, everyone's agreeing on that side of things. Now the last one, this is tough. And chat, after this one, there's no more to look through. But if you've got some you want to throw at us, you can say, I don't know, maybe you want him to rate us another specific part. Let us know. We can take a couple of them. But this one's tough because I wouldn't be able to, because I'm not on your team, I'm not hearing you talk. I wouldn't understand what level you'd be at in mental fortitude.
Uh, I guess I personally I think pretty high, just because I'm like a pretty calm guy, and you
Hmm.
know things are going wrong. I'm kind of like focused on the next round and what we need to do to win, kind of things. Like I'm never really bothered by things going wrong. It's just kind of staying focused. So
Yeah.
um, I'd say out of everything, it's probably one of my highest ones, and I'd say probably around this one. I'll go high. I'll say 95 for myself on this one.
Hey, all right. I like the confidence of it as well. That's decent. That's really good. Chat, if you want me to ask him any others, you just fire it out as well. We'll go through that as well. The mental fortitude's a hard one, right? Because like I think I try to do when I'm seeing players or I'm interviewing players, I try to get like a good read or feel of them for like Alex to me would always be someone who had like really strong mental fortitude. But then you look at someone like, well, Alex played with Zyru. Even when they're losing, or even if they be having a bad game, he just looks like he's enjoying the game. Like it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
anything. He just seems like this is fun, you know. This is just like I'm happy to be here, no matter what's going on. He never seems
yeah.
out of it.
And
Some players have that.
yeah, I definitely think it's like with how you deal with it as well. It's like there's other players that may be more emotional or show it on camera where they look kind of frustrated or
Yeah,
something, but it's also how you deal with it. Like if those players kind of get like that, it's like fine if they can still frag out or do the best thing for the team, and maybe it doesn't always like on camera, like I said, it shows like they may be more emotional, but they're also keeping it like calm for the team and making sure they're leading and or doing the right thing and communicating well. It's like it's just completely how you deal with it. And like you said, Zoe is like one of those guys that nothing seems to phase him at all. Like
Not at all.
maybe I mean, he very rarely misses a shot, but if he was to miss one, or lose a clutch that he feels like he could have won, it's nothing to him. It's like, okay, on to the next one. He'll get another chance and kill another 5 players or get another 1v4 or something. So
Mm.
it's just how you deal with it. If things go wrong, it's like you can be emotional, but it's like making sure you're kind of refocusing onto the next thing.
Now, getting back onto the career side of things, right? I'm going to not really touch too much on the 4 months at endpoint because I just look at that as like a stepping gap, going back for the
Yeah,
UK boys, very successful UK team. Huge props to what endpoint has been able to do in propping up, literally propping up the entire UK scene, on their own. Also giving you a home, someone to play for. I know they salary their players as well, which is just fantastic. But this Fnatic one that came around, how did this all come about? Was this more of the agent side? Was this Alex trying to bring you back in? Like, talk me through that initial time of joining because that must have been super exciting. Like, from especially what we discussed of when you were on Cloud9, and you're thinking, will I get another opportunity at this level? And obviously, Fnatic, they have the spots in like ESL and stuff as well, which is insane.
yeah. Like I definitely think it was obviously more to do. Obviously, it was the agency helps a lot with that because they have the
You're with
relationships with
Prodigy, right?
yeah, with
Yeah,
Prodigy
obviously,
and like
literally the best one out there, right?
yeah, definitely, and they have the relationships with the org owners or the management staff, so it's a lot easier in that respect. But also, I think definitely during my time with Endpoint, it felt like at this time it was like I was playing one of the best like seasons, or I was in my best time in my career with in terms of individual skill. I was playing really well, and it kind of felt like if there's going to be a time where I could get back into Tier One CS, it was going to be like at this point. And it was lucky that obviously Fnatic were looking to go international and bring some different players in, and um, they kind of had me on their list, and it was great to see because, like I said, it was playing one of my best times of my career, and it was just like hoping that chance come up, and luckily it come up, and like it just adds like extra motivation because you kind of know that you're doing the right thing at that point, and
Mm.
you just got to continue working and making sure I can then like stay at this level and be in this team for a while.
And when we're looking at this Fnatic roster, right? Obviously, now it's brilliant to see a UK flag by it, but when you come into the roster, you got the Swedes on there. They've been playing this competition at a very high level. The thing I think was also beneficial for you in your Cloud9 time is that I think a lot of players in the early part of their career might go onto a roster with these kind of names or the organization's names and be almost a bit starstruck. But I'm guessing that didn't really happen for you, right? You were just kind of comfortable to slot in.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially at first with like the C9 thing, it was definitely surreal because you're playing
Yeah.
with like some players that have been playing Tier 1 CS for a long time and been playing at these big tournaments. But then I think even with Fnatic, it was obviously a huge opportunity because you're playing with like you said, the Swedish guys like Krims, Brollan, who are like have been like, especially Krims won pretty much everything there is to win,
Big time.
and then like Brollan, who's been like a was a huge upcoming star and been top 20 and played a lot of great tournaments as well. So it's kind of a weird situation, but it's super easy to get on with players like that because you think obviously going in as that they're going to be like have maybe a bit of an ego because they've won so many things, but it's like especially with like a lot of Swedish guys that I've had when I was in with Gamer Legion, they're super easy to get on with.
Mm.
Like I think it's just Swedish people as a whole. Like they're just like
Oh, they're
when it comes to
chill.
CS, and they're super chill with like playing and communicating, and their English is obviously really good usually. So it's like it was been really easy to go into that team because they were like so welcoming as well, and motivated for the project.
Oh, brilliant! And you know what, that was the thing when you see this Fnatic roster come about, you look at it and you think, okay, this is wild. Like this is crazy that we're seeing a mix of the Swedes and the British people in there. But culturally, how does it work? Like outside of the game, is there a lot of this? Like, is there some similarities? Is there kind of, or is there a culture clash? Maybe how does that work?
I definitely think I wouldn't say there's like a lot of similarities, but it's like I said, super easy to get on with them because like they're super welcoming and they'll talk about anything, and maybe not like there's not any clashes or maybe not so many similarities, but it's like I said, they're just super chill. So whenever you're like joking around or whenever you've got like a topic to talk about, like they'll just speak about anything. It's just like super easy to talk to them because like they're just like you said, like it's really chill, and it's like like I said, going into the team, it's like the dream to have in teammates as well, because you don't want to go into a team where, like, especially for me when it was like coming back into tier 1, you want to make sure you're
Mm,
comfortable with like how I am individually, and then you've got teammates like that who are like super welcoming and will talk to you in and outside the game. So it's like even when practice finishes, it's like you're still hanging around in TS or on weekends playing pugs and stuff with them. So it's like really easy
nice.
to just chill out with them.
And in terms of obviously the fact that you're back with Alex and he's the IGL, was that easier for you also to just come into the team because you had an idea of how he played, or was there a complete change in his style that he had to bring to the table?
I think it was definitely like a lot easier for me. Like I think it works both ways. Like I knew exactly how he liked to play and how he
Yeah,
likes to call, so it was like easy for me to adapt to that, or like make sure I'm the way he kind of sees the game. And it's like also for him, it's he now after playing with me, he kind of sees how he wants me to play and what roles he wants to play. So it's like we kind of have that good back and forth where he understands me and I understand him, where it's like super comfortable to play in a team because he knows how I'm going to play and I know his like vision in the game. So I'm also able to help with like the calling aspect or like put ideas forward and so on. It's like really comfortable. Whereas if I was playing with someone that I didn't know, or like at the start of Cloud9, for example, when I didn't really know Alex, it's like a lot harder for me to be super comfortable like putting ideas forward because maybe I'm not fully comfortable or confident that that's like how he sees the game or how he can see things working out. So I think definitely now it's like a lot easier for like both parties, like him calling and also me being comfortable in the team and giving what he
nice.
needs.
Now, I don't want you to talk about Smoothie, right? We're going to leave this for a little separate conversation. But on the rest of the team, what are your thoughts now? You've had a few months with these guys, right? What's the feeling? Give me the lowdown on how you would kind of describe each of them.
I think overall, like I think we've got pretty insane like firepower. Like I think, like I said, like Crims, for example, has been around for many years, and I think everyone knows he's always been that real stable,
Still rocking
like
it, yeah.
yeah, exactly, like a really stable player within a team. Is you're always confident that he's going to kill 2 or 3 guys when they come to his site or in his position. He's always like that real stable player within a team, and you really need someone like that. And then Brodin as well. He's like that kind of that player who will do a lot of the mad stuff, and you just kind of go on, just go and do it, and that's how
Yeah.
like you get the best out of him because when he gets confidence, like I mean everyone knows like he's been the top 20 players, and he when he gets that confidence, he's just gonna like be better than a lot of players. So we've got a lot of firepower, and then you add like someone like Smooth to that list. Is like everyone knows maybe he hasn't had like the most opportunities, or like he's had a few opportunities that hasn't worked out, but I think for now it's like his stats and stuff speak for themselves. Like he was absolutely dominating the tier 2 scene or tier 3 scene with Movistar, and then like coming in with us, he's been performing really well. So it helps a lot to have like an AWPer like that who's going to be able to put up numbers and just like as you know, like as he is, he has a bit of an ego, but it's also a good thing because when he goes into that game, he also knows like whoever he goes up against, like it doesn't really matter. He's gonna
Oh
do his
yeah,
best, and
confident.
he's gonna take them on and see where it goes. And then like with Alex, like I said, I've got on with him like really well, and it's been good to play with him from the C9 project to now. It's been super comfortable to play, like have that relationship with the IGL um where we both know each other pretty well and can have that good balance of like what he wants from me and what I know I can give like with for the team. So I think it's been working out really well. And like I said, I think the firepower aspect is like really big for our team because
Hmm.
um like maybe on paper people don't see it, but I think like after playing with everyone and the practice games and the officials that we have played as a team, I think it like kind of shows that we just need that extra time as a team and just go from there because I think the firepower is like super high and the potential's is huge.
Now, I have to ask this, right? Because I would always look at Alex and think more French than British. Now he's with you boys, right? What is he? Is he one of us? Is he one of like the lads? Is he getting the banter and stuff in there? Or is he still slightly more French?
I definitely think he's one of the lads for sure. Like
Hey, there we go.
the banter he has and everything, like definitely he's more of a UK guy, but he's stuck out there in France for a while, so I don't know. But in terms of banter and everything, like he's definitely more of a UK lad.
No, I love Alex because poor guy, by the way, when he was on Vitality, obviously when we were doing interviews, would always have to go and do the interviews, like just the easiest one to get answers out
Yeah.
of. always push to it. But yeah, no, it's good to see that got the British flag. He's rocking it for us, and he's given us this British Fnatic. But I do want to touch on Smooya because obviously him coming into the roster and coming into any roster, right? Like you mentioned, can be kind of, I guess, some controversy to it or whatever. But this kid knows how good he can be. Yes, he can shout and he's got his emotions and stuff. People who watch his stream will know him very well. But how different is it compared to what we see, say, on a stream level to then what you see like in game?
I think it's not much different, to be honest, but
Ooh.
I think it's a good thing as well. Like
Mm,
like I said before, it's great to have like for me, I'm a pretty quiet, like chilled out guy, and then
yeah.
I think most of us are pretty chilled out in the team, so it's
Oh,
good
yeah, I
to
can't
have like
imagine Broland being like super hype
yeah,
or anything, you know?
exactly. So I think it's been pretty good to have like a different perspective or a different personality in team because it like gives that good balance when you have like win a good round or when you know someone's popping off, like having that guy like just screaming and shouting. It's like it can hype up the team and like give that extra confidence. So I definitely think there's similarities between it, like how you see him on stream and in a team because like everyone sees him on cams as well or highlights from other tournaments where he's like screaming and stuff at the other team. So I think
Yeah.
like it definitely adds like that difference or that extra balance within a team when you've got like a lot of chilled out players. So I think it's been good to have someone like him in the team that can just like give that extra that like pump it up a bit more like when you're winning the big rounds and stuff like just screaming at the other team.
Mm. Now let's get on to some like the result wise for Fnatic, and obviously the first one we're going to touch on is this debut, right? We call it for the DreamHack Open side of things. You take first place, Spirit, Ents, Mad Lions, big there on the end on the grand final. 3-0 versus big, obviously is super impressive as well as a one to take down. But like, did you guys expect to come away with that this early on? Like, obviously, people may look at the name Fnatic and go, "Oh, they wouldn't be in a DreamHack Open," or something like that. But I mean, obviously, this is a very different Fnatic from having a full Swedish lineup. The names on it and stuff. What were your expectations before you hit that event, and how did it feel? Because that's just like an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, like especially for me personally, it was obviously like one of my first bigger tournaments or like to win like a tier two tournament, whatever it may be. But
Oh, I would. I don't even
like
consider that tier two now. Like, that's the thing with opens. I feel like that's like just always bridging on the gap of tier one because of the amount of teams
yeah.
that want to grind into it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like quite a huge achievement for me personally, and obviously as a team, it's like I think our expectations were obviously you always want to win the tournaments you win,
Yeah.
tournaments you play in. Like every team wants to do that, but like we were still a really new team and hadn't like played all the maps completely and had everything down. So it was kind of like let's just do our best here, try and make it through to the playoffs and just see where it goes. And then I think it just kind of turned into like a tournament where we had like a lot of confidence and everyone was playing really well. And it's just like I think we were boot camping at that point as well for
Hmm.
DreamHack Open. So it was just kind of like everyone's together and feeling like the hype and when things are going super well and we have that confidence, like I said, we have that firepower where like maybe we don't have to have all the strats or all the maps down, but when you're confident in each other and you're confident in like what everyone's going to do and you're just like, okay, we're doing this and everyone's decisive, it's like it's really big when you have like all those players that can pop off. And I think everyone did super well in that tournament to obviously win it and like not easily, but like 3-0 and big in the final was
Solid.
like a really good, like yeah, like a solid result.
Yeah, I remember watching it and just thinking like, wow, they're actually going to do it. We're seeing Twitter and stuff pop off and how it all went down. And then obviously, I think that obviously sets expectations maybe very high for you guys, right? You go into IEM winter, and I'm gonna just make sure I know exactly what numbers I'm gonna be talking here. So here we go. You lose out to Gambit in a best of one, right? Gambit, one of
Yeah,
the best teams in the world at the time. You 2-0 Ents, you then 2-1 big, and then you can't make it out of groups because you have to face Gambit again. And you lose 2-1. You still take a map off them. It's a competitive series. But for some reason, and I don't know if it's just because you got a British flag on the team, but like people are so overly critical of yet you look at the teams you finished above, right? So you finished 7th to 8th. You were ahead of FaZe, Big, OG, Astralis, Heroic, Ents, Tyloo. Okay, it's Tyloo. Mouse, like,
yeah.
and then what did you feel? Did you feel like hard done by, or did you even just ignore the comments from the community? Because like, as someone who, okay, I am British, I will be biased towards a team that has got a British flag on it in some way. Sure, I want my Brits to do well because we never achieve anything in CS. But I was like, this is still a really good result. This is IEM winter. This is like the best teams going, and then people just like, or they should have made it out of groups, or they should have done a better result. And I'm thinking this was just so unfair. So how did you handle that? How did you view it? Did you really care or not too much?
To be honest, I don't usually care too much. Like, I actually read quite a lot of the stuff on Twitter,
Oh,
but
you actually read it as well.
yeah,
You're
I like, I
brave.
mean, people, yeah, it's a dangerous game, but like I said, I'm super chilled, so it's
Yeah.
like what everything
100 mental
people,
fortitude, remember,
yeah,
on your
yeah,
rating.
like whatever people say, it's like I know, like most of the time they're not professionals and
Hmm.
they don't fully know what they're talking about and they don't know the
True.
ins and outs of a team, so it's like to be honest, I always take it pretty lightly, and whatever people say, it's like it's whatever. It's kind of interesting to see what people say, and usually because I know, obviously, I'm in the team, so I know exactly what's going on. It's like
Yeah,
I sometimes like to see like if people are kind of close to see what they thought about the game and so on. But honestly, don't usually care. And like you said, we lost to Gambit twice, and that's the only team we lost to in Winter. So it's like,
exactly.
especially in that best of three as well, I think the only disappointing part was like we definitely felt we should have probably won that game because
Mm,
like we were losing a lot of close rounds towards the end of that map, and it was one of those games. It was like super late and there was a lot of mistakes. But that was the only disappointing thing about that, is because we felt like obviously we only lost to Gambit, who were a top team.
yeah,
So it's kind of like, okay, it's the only team we lost to. It's whatever, but it's also disappointing because we felt like we definitely should have won that game. But yeah, it's
they're the tough
all the
ones.
all the talk on Twitter. It's like whatever. I couldn't really care less what people, like a lot of Twitter people just sitting behind their screens say, and it's whatever.
I love you, Mezii. Like, obviously, I don't get to, I've not get to do too many interviews with you before, and stuff. So this is the thing I love about doing interviews, where it's not just like short for broadcast and stuff, where I can get this detail, start to learn more about the players and the personalities behind it. Now, obviously, we go for like Christmas break, right? You have a bit of time off. You come back, we see FunSpark Ulti happening, and I will say honestly that like I definitely expect you guys to do better at an event like that. You lose out to big, right? You can lose out to big on any day, but this is a big at the time. Like they just picked up Fathom, so I'm thinking maybe there's a chance for you guys to do better on that one. It's still right a competitive series. The Mirage overtime, if you'd won that, obviously it would have been a different. I'm sorry, if you hadn't won that, obviously it would have been a different scenario. But beating
Hmm.
them on Mirage, which like Mirage and Dust 2 are the key picks for big all the time, like that.
Yeah.
That's impressive on its own in the first place. Then it's the Astralis one because I don't know, at least for me, I don't know what you think, but I just think this Astralis right now is just terrible, like absolutely terrible. Um, but the config can play Meth Effect. They start playing Mirage. They're very aggressive players and how they do it, a unique style. How did you guys view this tournament, and what do you put this down to on this result? Was it okay? It's the beginning of the year. We're trying new things, or how did you view it from your side of things?
I definitely think it was. We were obviously trying our best to win because obviously
Yeah,
we're competitive and want to win. It's just like I think coming out of a break, there's always going to be rustiness going into officials because like all you've got to go off is practice. And so we played a couple of weeks or probably less than that. Maybe I think it was like 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks of
mm,
practice going into this event. It's like you never know all these things that we've just added, how well they're going to work because teams play completely different in practice, and
always.
sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And you're like, okay, we need to use these officials now. Like this has worked in practice, let's try it out. And all of
Yeah,
a sudden it stops working. So it's like, I think with this, it was like obviously a big test tournament. We want to try and get back on track and like individually get back on into our individual level and make sure it's high.
yeah,
And I just think in this tournament against Big and Astralis, it was like it wasn't great at all. Like on an individual level, like as a team, we just weren't. It just wasn't clicking, and sometimes that happens after a break. Like I said, after only playing practice, you never know what's going to work and what isn't. So it was just kind of like obviously annoying to see it didn't pan out because I think we obviously put a lot of work into do well in that tournament and trying to
mm.
get back at individual level. It's just didn't work out for that tournament because it sometimes it doesn't after a break. And I think the other teams probably played better than us. It was just I think we let ourselves down like in terms of like the individual levels of our team in those two games because I definitely think it was there for the taking to beat both of them.
And then Pinnacle, right? And I think this one I can actually just say I understand. You lose to Apex, right? Quarterfinal game, you finish 58th. They finished second in the end, but I think people, and you will probably attest to this, when you look at the level right now of the teams like tier 2, tier 3 that are trying to rise up, so many of them are very close to like being tier
Yeah.
1. They just don't have the slots in like big events, and stuff like that. They're not on an ESL partner team or a Blast partner team. But how tough is those kind of tournaments, you know? Because these teams, they come through like hungry, they don't play normal in a sense, they're not playing like tier one teams and stuff. How difficult are games like that for you?
I think they're extremely hard just because as well, like for me, especially when you go from like a team like Endpoint or something in the tier 2, 3 scene, you're playing like officials constantly, and like
Yep.
even for a team like Apex, who we went up against, I think after the break, there'd only been a like they just formed the team and only been together for a couple of weeks, but they're like straight into officials, and sometimes that can definitely help you. As like you said, you get that experience in officials. It's like, okay, you know exactly how people are playing and what to fix in your game because, like I said, practice is different. So when you've got all that official experience as a team, it helps so much. And I think for us, we'd played that FunSpark tournament, which was a two best of threes, and then
Mhm.
going to this where Apex had played like a full tournament, and
Fully
also
warmed
like
up. And probably
yeah,
didn't
fully
also take a
yeah.
break like the rest of the teams.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're coming into this tournament, like played plenty of other tier 2, 3 tournaments, and it's like, right, we've just got to like treat them as any other team and just say like it's going to be tough and so on. And obviously it was because they beat us, but it's like 2 16 13 games where you could definitely see that we hadn't played many officials like in
Mm.
the start of this year because like it was very sloppy. And no shade to like Apex, but it's like for us, we're definitely a team that should be beating them, especially when
Yeah.
they've only just formed as a team and they've still got loads of stuff to fix and stuff. But it's like I said, it's sometimes it comes down to like, especially at this level, and like you said, all these top 30 teams, or even in these type of tournaments, like the individual skills like
So
super high at the
wild.
moment. Yeah, it's like insane. Like all the individual players can frag out, and it's like on the day you've just got to make sure that you're all on it and making sure you're hitting shots, and sometimes that's what it comes down to. And that's why
Yeah.
I think even in Pinnacle, like a Heroic went out to K23, and like
Furia as well.
Fury, yeah,
Yeah.
Fury went out. So it's like on the day, I don't think sometimes either the teams aren't ready for it, or it's just like making sure you're going from like one official to the other.
Just imagine, right? You could put a Navi in there and they'll lose to some of these games. You'll put a Gambit and they'll lose. Well, maybe not because Gambit actually plays at that level still all the time, right? So they're an anomaly because they play everything they can get their hands into.
Yeah,
But there are a lot of the very top teams you put them in the top 10 and they will struggle so much in these games because there's some swings and peaks I see when I'm watching some of these streams and I go, you just wouldn't do that normally. Like, no
yeah.
top tier player is making those kind of movements, but they do it with absolute confidence. Sponge, he tweeted out not too long ago about like there are players now making these wide springs and like bringing it back. Where obviously we were so focused on jiggle peeking and stuff, and it was a different style. Like there's a mix going on right now for sure. But you've got EPL coming up, right? And that's a big one. When I do on my own stream like a review of groups and stuff when they come out. I put you guys of going through on your group, but like give me the lowdown, Mezii. How's practice been? How are you feeling going into this one? Are you guys going to have the boot camp in London, for example, for it, or is it played at ESL? Like you playing it on land for an ESL event somewhere? How are they doing it this time?
So well, first up we've got like the play-in for Kato coming up as well.
Oh
So
yeah, forget about the playing. Yeah,
yeah, so
that's
we
going to be a grind.
yeah, because like as well, there's a lot of good teams in the play-in. Like
Yeah,
it's pretty insane. So I think um like I think we're definitely feeling confident just because practice has been like to be honest, it's kind of hard to say just because before FunSpark and before Pinnacle, practice was also going really well. So it's
mm,
like I said, like it's just making sure that we're all kind of staying consistent in terms of like our individual levels and making sure we're doing like all the work that we can
yeah.
do individually because like I said, the what it comes down to is obviously hitting the shot, and if you're not doing that, that sometimes it's just not going to work out. So that's why a lot of these big teams like Unavi and Gambit, and they've got
Yep.
like all five players that can play at such a high level that you need to make sure that you're doing it as well. And that's just like we've got to focus on that. And like I said, practice is usually always going pretty well as well. So it's just like I said, making sure that we do the right preparation in terms of on the team we're playing, and also like making sure we're individually going into it really hot and ready to frag out.
Well, I'll definitely be supporting straight away. Until you come up against Navi, I need to make sure they allow me to stay in Ukraine. So I'm just like making sure my visa is always approved by supporting Navi the whole way through. But by the way, I just looked at the time and I'm thinking, oh god, I've like taken so much of this time going through this because I could do this all day. I could literally go through everything with you. But I need to answer these. We had a couple of questions in chat, mate. So
Yep.
the first one, they said about you mentioning that there isn't any talent pool in the UK. Is there a reason for that? Do you think there's something specific on why we don't have that?
Uh, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's like mainly to do with like motivational factors. Like I think when you look in the UK, there's obviously Endpoint, which is
All
should
of our
be
bad players went to that terrible game we don't want to talk about as well.
that is also true as well. That's why when I first went to Game Legion, that's why my UK team broke up as well, because
Yeah,
they went to Valorant. So it's like,
because they're
you
just
know,
bad at CS, so they just went, oh, let's go to that terrible game and just waste our time playing a child's game. But that's fine. We'll stick with our good players here. We got Mezii. I'm happy with that. Sorry, I get so I'm so on that bandwagon.
But yeah, like I said, there's not like there's 2 or 3 tier one teams in the UK that all these young players can look up to and like, oh yeah, I need to make sure I'm getting into one of these teams. Like, there's no like, it's the end point, but it's not like they're even a UK team now. But it's like
Yeah,
that feels like it should be enough motivation for these players to go like,
that's
that's
something
what
to
the
aim
level I
for,
want to get
right?
to. Yeah, exactly. But I just think that sometimes it's like a motivational factor, and maybe people don't see like the success you can get from getting into a big team and so on. And I think like,
Mm,
especially with the UK, I think it's still a bit behind on like, maybe like I said, with a lot of the younger players in other countries, like they're maybe not giving up on school, but it's like integrated into their school, or
yeah,
like they're given a lot
culturally.
of time. Yeah, they've given a lot of time to play CS, and I think in the UK it's not so much at the moment. And um, maybe CS, like UK CS players, are focusing more on educational jobs and stuff, and they don't see it as a career. But
Mhm.
I definitely feel like it's one of those things where you've got to sometimes take a risk and just say like, I'm gonna put my time towards CS. And it's like, I think with a lot of CS players, it's not like falling at the first hurdle and going, okay, I'm just going to give up now. It's like
Yeah.
you got to put your time in, and there's obviously going to be times where it doesn't go so well, or a team might want you and it doesn't work out, and that's just sometimes the way it is, and you just got to make sure your motivation's still high and keep working at it, because I think that's like the biggest thing with UK CS players is they're just like maybe not always wanting it as much, or they like the idea of being professional, but they don't like the idea of how much work you've got to put into to get there as well.
Now, Odie's got a question, but I'm going to ask you to try speed run it. Because he said, any old UK CS players you like? So I guess going back into the old school names, who did you like?
Oh, this is a tough one. Like, I mean, I was pretty young
Henry.
when I watched. I watched like the only memories I have like of when I used to watch like Source as well is like
Yeah.
CGS. So like I
So
watched
you're going
quite
to
a
make
lot of
Odie
like,
very happy because he won
yeah.
that.
Exactly. So like the memories I have is like watching like that Birmingham Salvo team with like Rattlesnake, Willzoo, and so on,
Yeah, yeah.
and then obviously London Mint. I think that Henry played for those guys and stuff. So I think that those are the names that I used to like have the biggest memories of, because like even now sometimes like just watch on YouTube like the old CGS like games and stuff, because it's just good fun.
Yeah, man, definitely. And that do you know what? For us, even though I was a Source hater, being a 1.6 guy who literally had all of my players taken to that game, and we had to just like that. I remember being in a team where I was an IGL at 15 years old with 3 Brits and 2 Danish kids because I just couldn't get good enough British players because everyone was playing Source. It was so bad. It was so awkward. But yeah, like Birmingham and Salvo, that was something for us to be proud about for so long, where we hadn't been since like the 4K days. Like it'd been
Yeah.
a long time since that was coming. All right, final question. I've got 2 minutes. It goes, with all the new rosters in 2022, how do you rate your chances at big events? He says Astralis, in my opinion, never had the best 5-stack lineup when they dominated. Would you agree with this? And does this make you feel this Fnatic lineup can get to the top?
Definitely. I think, like I said before, we have super high potential and the firepower is definitely there. It's just about like, obviously we're still a young team in terms of like the experience we have with each other and how long we've been together. So it's just about like making sure we have the good balance between the roles within a team. And I think we've already shown that we have some potential there. It's just about making sure, like I said, we get the time we need to
Mm,
play against these top teams, because it's not been like we're playing against them constantly. We're always at these big events, and hopefully this year it's like, I think it's kind of our time to make sure we're in all these events and like show our potential and make some playoff runs. And I definitely think we can be up there, because like I said, there's a lot of new rosters that have been put together, and they
yep.
also need their time, and we've got a
Oh
little
yeah.
edge on them because we've been together a bit longer. So it's just about like making sure we stay focused, do all our work that we need to do, and just like go from there, because like I said, I think our potential's there to beat all these teams. And it's just about being the best you can on the day, because like I said, all these good teams, all these top teams can lose to anyone. It's just making sure you're on it on the time you play them.
And if there's anything I've learned from this interview, Mezii, is you're definitely dedicated, you're definitely focused. This has been an absolute pleasure, mate. And a big thank you for Esports News UK for allowing us to do this. And of course, MSI for letting us have the opportunity to do this great content with these players. It's been a lot of fun. I would love to spend some more time with you, Mezii, doing some more of this, but I'm sure I'll catch you at some of the big events as well. You're doing the UK proud. You've got a fan in me for sure, especially after this interview. So best of luck for the 2022 season. And for everyone watching, thank you very much for being a part of this. We'll see you on the next one.